Buddy Colonel and Rusty and Sandy and all these are the Smiley Culture, Asher Senator. That's, you know, we all grew up together on sound systems. We're all around the same age. Do you understand me? And that mic hand-to-hand thing was what we did back in the day. So when I come into jungle now, right, there's no, you play a vocal and then you turn it over and it's a version. It's just one big fucking thing, right? And at first when I come there, they were playing like a little bit of acid house and a little bit of hardcore and a tiny bit of jungle. Because I was going to the first parties, there was no bass line in the music whatsoever. It was just the end of acid house. I came in the music when it was just coming to the end of acid house and the hardcore thing was kicking in. And then within 2 years of the hardcore thing kicking in, the jungle thing just took over. You know, and that's how I learned how to MC on jungle, because when I was going to their parties, I could hear these mans on the mic and I knew I could do that. But how do you do that? And how do you get in? And that's when I had to come out of the raves and go on the radio and rebuild my name as Navigator, because I was just known as Ragga Twins crew because I was partnering with Ragga Twins. But the man that really taught me how to MC on jungle was Moose. So all of those things when you hear in the dance, when I'm just saying the things at the right time and, you know, I'm getting the timing right, it's Moose really that taught me that. He never taught me how to be a mic man. He never taught me how to trap lyrics. He never taught me how to be a reggae dancer DJ. What he taught me was how to host music in a jungle rave, how to be the connector between the crowd. And then after that, what I did was now, I started to pick my spaces where I knew it was just rhythm. It would just drop into the rhythm now. And that's when I start chatting my lyrics. But certain DJs, they don't even want that. They don't want a lot of MCing. So you just easy and you just work with them and you just host more. But once in a while, you're still going to chat a little lyric. Somebody like Remark now, who plays a lot of dubs and a lot of vocals, right? More time I'm up there, I'm just hyping crowd, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I know the vocal that's gonna come in, you know what I mean? Beanie Man fans right now, let me see the on them. Wave up, light up, yo, the one I don't play special, yeah, this. And then the vocal drops in, because I know instinctively, Remark doesn't have to tell me what he's gonna play, because I hear the vocal coming in and I know exactly who that is. That's the difference between me and most MCs. I understand it from a sound system level and also from a junglist dub plate level. So I can host a dub plate set, I can host a sound clash, and I can also host a set and chat for somebody like Bookham, for instance, easily. Certain DJs don't play like rap, don't play like I used to play back in the day. So she's kind of lost. Man like somebody like Dillinger, for instance, I don't like particularly to MC for him because of the way how he mixes, and he doesn't have to say, he's not a DJ, he's a producer. So the way how he drops music in the dance is more on a producer tip more than a DJ. Somebody like Frost, that's a DJ. Somebody like Mickey Finn, that's a DJ. Andy C, that's a DJ. Rough Stuff, DJ. You know them, Kenny Ken, DJ. They're DJs first before they're producers. You understand me? They love spinning tune. They know how to put tunes together. Randall is a DJ. You understand me, King? That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I
So I find it easier to work with the DJs as opposed to people who started DJing because they produce big tunes.
No, it's an interesting thing I ask a lot of people. And just for the record, I did start recording, so I hope you're okay. But you were so deep into what you were saying there, I wanted to get it on record. So
yeah, no problem. But none of that earlier stuff, though, right?
No. We were only recorded the last 3 minutes of what you said. So
okay.
No, it was really, really profound. And you kind of ended off on something I'd like to ask you more about, which is, do you think it's important for a producer to be a DJ to be successful?
Nowadays, no. You actually can't even boss as a DJ nowadays. You have to have a big tune. Unless you know quite a few of the big promoters and you can get booked in them dances without having to prove yourself, then you can most probably make it as a DJ without having a big tune. But if you ain't got that link, the only way you're going to get noticed is by making big tunes and the DJs that are on the circuit playing those big tunes. And then people are going to be like, yo, this dude's just like heavy. And then they start to book you. And it's also the same thing with the MC circuit. You have to come with something. You have to do something different from what everybody else is doing. You can't just break into the scene like that. They'll give you second, third, and fourth arena, but they won't give you main arena. Not if you're not one of the originals, and not if you're not doing something special. There's only been a few people to bust into the scene lately and make big impact, you know, like Stormin, rest in peace, and Harry Shotter, and, you know, there's been a couple of other mans them still that have busted into the scene. X-Man has done a lot to help these jump-up MCs to bust into the scene, you know, Azza and Grimer and Traumatic and them people did, you know. X-Man done a lot to bust a whole heap of man.
I agree. You know, one I want to shout out is Ton Piper. I know he's not blowing up, but he's really done well with his residency MC with Andy C, I would say. And
yeah, man. I spoke to Ton when he got the gig, and he was saying to me, like, you know, boy, Nav, it's like, you know, it's not you know, thousands, but, you know, it's like, look at the dates. I've got like a year full of. I'm like, dude, just do your thing, man. I remember seeing him. You know, we did a Red Bull Culture Clash up in Manchester one time, and he was there backstage, and we had a little chat. And I'm very happy for him. I'm also very happy for Andy, because Andy worked hard to get where he is right now. You know, and when I see a man like Andy up there doing it on that level, I say to myself, yeah, that means any one of us can achieve that if we apply ourselves right and put the work in the right place and make the right connections, you know. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Any man can make it. So, you know, yeah. Big up Ton Piper, man. Enough respect to them, man. Them, man, they're doing it on a different level. You know, Andy done a dance over here, Wembley Stadium, fam, right? Or Wembley Arena, 13,000 people. Him one headlining, him one playing all night, 5-6 hours. Come on.
Can I tell you something he's agreed to here that I'm really upset about?
Which is what?
He's performing at a festival, which will go without name, but they've got him playing on Sunday afternoon at 6 o'clock in the afternoon amongst a bunch of nobodies. And they're obviously doing it to try and pull in names. And to me, Andy belongs on the main night at the main time slot, not on the Sunday when everyone's going home at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But the fact that he would even agree to the gig is what upsets me. I don't like seeing performers of his stature performing at those shows. Can you empathize with what I'm saying?
I understand that from a punter's point of view, but from a professional point of view, we
It's
don't
money.
know what his situation is. You know what I mean?
We don't know what his situation is. He has to fly somewhere else straight after, and he can only do that set because, you know, that's the times that he has. You know, you don't know, because Andy's a busy boy. He's moving like grease lightning. So, you know.
I guess I never thought of that. I didn't think of it in that sense. I thought maybe
Because most
there's
people
enough
don't.
money.
Most people don't. They just it's perception, isn't it? But when you're in a position, like I've been in Andy's position, when you're in high demand, and people just think, he dissed us. I didn't diss you, fam. It's just I couldn't make it this time. I'll be around next time. You know? It's just how it is, but they don't know, because when they look at it, they see it from their perspective and not from what it actually is. And if I'm honest with you, in life, most things that you look at, what they seem to be, they are not.
Well, and there's like I say, there is truth to what you're saying. I don't know the specifics. He was booked for another party here, put in between two dubstep DJs, which I went to see him. Him and Ton Piper was nice enough to get me in. And the sound system was crap. The turntables skipped. And then Andy, because the gentleman that he is, wanted to perform another 10 extra minutes because his system had crashed. They actually pulled the system on him and cut out his sound. And Andy just took off his headphones and whipped them across the stage and kind of, you know, stormed off to the right. Rightfully so. And you could just see these promoters had no idea. They weren't treating this guy like who he deserved to be. He was just some drum and bass dude who was in between their two headlining dubstep DJs, and they wanted to boost their ticket sales, I guess. That was my perspective of what occurred, and maybe I'm projecting that into this next promotion because it's the same promoters. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I think it's just money at the end of the day. I think they pay him very well, and he takes the gigs. It's business.
One sec.
Oh, hold on. He's taking other calls.
Yo, nephew. When I call you back, me I do have the interview online. When I call you back, I'm done here. Right, family. Bless. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I liked hearing the personal Navi for a moment there. But yeah, for those, you know what, those who are jumping in here mid conversation, I've had the privilege here of talking to Navigator for I think over an hour now. And it's always a blessing to talk to this man. He's got so much wisdom to share. Let me ask you this, Navi. It's kind of a fun question, but I'd love to hear your answer to it. Are you familiar with Mount Rushmore, the monument out in the United States?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we were to create a Mount Rushmore for jungle. Which four faces do you think belong on it?
Oh my God, you're going there. I don't know, man. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, man. You know, you'd have to have Goldie there, you'd have to have Congo there, and you'd have to be there, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, and you'd have to have one of the big men from back in the day, you know, that was promoting it from the beginning, you know. You know, maybe a Roast or a Paul Ibiza, or, you know, one of them guys from way back in the day, or in the East, man. You know, they're the faces that I would expect to see up there, and that's not even, you're even talking about no MCs yet. That's just like some of the cornerstone man them that have been doing this thing from day one. You know.
Sure, and you're naming people I don't know. Sorry. I'm oblivious, but and I'm ignorant. I'll say it, but I don't know those names you just said there at the end. Eastman, no, not familiar.
Eastman is the governor for Cool FM.
Okay.
And Eastman was also a sound man back in the day as well. So I know Eastman for at least 35 odd years. More
Let me hold on. You
years.
used a term there that I think is very loosely thrown around, and I'd like to dig into. You called him a sound man. In the old tapes, we used to hear sound engineer, and that meant something. You know, nowadays you don't hear it. What is a sound man? What do you mean by that?
When I say a sound man, a man that owned a sound system, and a sound system would comprise of equipment. You know, a slave amp, a preamp. You'd have your equalizer. You'd have your echo chamber, whatever, and you play sound system, you have speaker boxes, handmade, custom made. The amps as well were custom made, even the preamp. You know, when I first came into the sound system business, you had people who were building their own sounds in sheds, in houses and stuff like that, and that's where I used to go. I used to go and sit down in there and watch them. They had soldering iron, and they'd have circuit boards, capacitors, resistors, and they would be soldering these things onto these circuit boards, mate, and making their own preamps and their own valve amps and everything. So when you went out to play a sound, you played your own equipment that you built with your own hands, your own sound system, your own speaker boxes. And then you'd have your vocalists around you that would come and you would play your music. You'd be the selector, or you'd have a selector playing music for you, and the mic men them, and that would comprise of a sound system. But Eastman wasn't a mic man. He was more a sound man, as in he owned the sound system and he used to play the sound. Peter Bouncer used to sing on Eastman sound, for instance.
Okay. I'm familiar with Peter.
So Eastman is coming. Eastman's older than me. So Eastman's, you know, Eastman is like our elder, one of our elders. And, you know, I would say that back in the 90s, the early 90s, when it was sort of late 80s, early 90s, because the reggae man them started first, the pirate radio station thing started to kick in, and that became the modern day sound system, because it would be, you know, you're broadcasting and people could play their music and you could get on the radio and shine as an artist or as a vocalist, same way like how you did back in the 80s, doing it on sound system. So he's a sound man. That's what Eastman is. Me and D-Man and Flinty are sound men in the context of being sound mic men. But we were sound men too. I owned the sound, Flinty owned the sound. When we were growing up, that's what we did. We built sound systems, and we went out and played music and put ourselves on. There weren't no internet. That's how you had to do it. You had to build a sound, and you had to go out there and get on. Go and get booked at parties, play house parties, until you got to the point where you're playing blues dances or shubbing and things like that. And then, you know, school halls, church halls, social clubs, community centers, all these, you know, youth clubs. That's where we used to play. And then in the night, and then when you start going to the next level, you start going to the nightclubs now, and you're playing, you know, on a big sound system, or you're chatting on a big sound system, you know, for the big people, and Four Races, whatever, all them big clubs from back in the day. CBs, QBs, you know what I'm saying? On big sounds, like Fat Man. I used to chat on Fat Man. It's hard for people to visualize. What you need to do is go on YouTube and put in reggae sound system, and you will see everything come up, and then you'll get more of an idea when you start seeing the tip. I just dropped a video with me and Rankin Joe. Rankin Joe is like an idol to me. When I did this video with him and we were shooting the videos, I was starstruck because I used to buy his records. He's an elder to me. We listen to them, man, them Jamaicans. That's who we listen, and that's how we patterned the way how we chat, Mike, from England. Because we're born with Jamaican culture. Because we got Jamaican parents or West Indian parents. Not for the man, the men even Jamaican, they're just West Indian. It's reggae music that binds us all together. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, Indian. It doesn't matter. It's the music that binds us all together. So we were chatting sound from them time there, listening to man like Rankin Joe, and I'm breaking down the whole thing. It's a jungle song, I carry the swing. And if you listen to my lyrics, me I broke it down. Me I say 18-inch speaker we build with one box, amplifier, equalizer, echo chamber pan top, Twitter Chris like a crackers, bass line it a drop. My selector him a fling down some mad rhythm track. When we hold the microphone they dance all of the rock. The people them a all a jack it up and pull it back, gate lock. Cause they dance a roadblock, it a sweet the whole of them, they never want if it stop. You understand me? It's like I'm breaking down what we used to do.
You used to throw parties so bad that you'd cause roadblocks?
Come on, man. Come on, man. There was times like there's been some big dances over here in the UK back in the 80s when them Jamaican sounds used to come over. It was a big thing. The whole sound system thing was a community thing. It was a community thing. You play your sound out, your whole community come out and listen to your sound.
Well, the thing, I want to say one thing that's really interesting, and I think that's been lost through time, is that we're talking about not just amplification, but quality of sound. And the interesting aspect of cultural indifference, I guess, here is that I grew up racing model cars with people, not building my own sound system. Like, that's amazing to me. And where we are today in our culture, I guess, is that we've lost... Oh. Sorry about that, Navi. But yeah, I was saying we've lost, I guess, that part of our heritage. And today, people are just building big sound. It's not about quality sound. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, because it's very uniform and very, how could I put it? It's standardized. And that's what I loved about sound system back in the days, that everybody had an individual sound system that sounded different because you could tune those amps to the frequencies that you wanted to hear. It wasn't all 441 back then. It was 436. You understand me?
No.
Very
what does that mean?
Sounding.
What do you mean by 441?
That's the frequency. That's the frequency.
Oh. See,
That's hertz. The frequency is measured in hertz. So nowadays, most of the frequencies that you're hearing coming out of speaker boxes, they're coming out of 44,000.100. Yeah?
Okay.
Back in the day, it was 436.
So there's more diversification than there is today?
It was just softer. It was more in tune with the way how the body vibrates, as opposed to this harsh sound that we're used to hearing nowadays. And that's the reason why everything sounds so compressed and harsh on your ears in the parties.
Interesting.
Because if you go out and if anybody that's a musician or a vocalist that's worked with a live band, and that's when you're really coming into your own as a real musician or an artist, working with a live band. When you get on that stage, every single instrument is being amplified on a different channel on that mixing desk. And you have your own channel for the vocal. So that means everything's getting individual attention. When you're in a rave, all of those instruments are now recorded onto a record or a digital format. So all of the frequencies are squashed together. You've got no separation there to be able to amplify anything individually. Do you understand? This is the sound engineer navigator talking now, because I'm also a qualified sound engineer. And when I realized these things, that made me want to go and do a sound engineering course to understand it more, because I realized the difference between compressed frequencies and separate frequencies that you could manipulate individually. So when you're in a rave now, and all of these frequencies are squashed together, coming out of 441, out of these very mid-rangey sounding sound systems. Yes, there's underground there. There's certain sound systems now that are coming out. Like, you know, I know a couple of them. Like, there's one called Electrical from Scotland, I think they're from. They play up in Bristol sides with them Bristol boys a lot. Dude, their bass line is incredible. You know what I'm saying? But the vast majority of these standardized sound systems that are out there right now, whose names I'm not going to mention before anybody starts trying to throw me under the bus, but everybody knows what I'm talking about, that goes to the raves in the UK. It's very mid-rangey and very toppy. The bass line doesn't come through properly, and plus the way how the music is mixed nowadays, the bass frequencies that the producers are using, it's not very dubby, it's very, very raspy and mid-rangey. So that's all you're getting bombarded with all these frequencies, and then the sound engineer is then trying to then tune a microphone to be able to be heard over the top of that. And every single vocalist that goes up there has got a different voice. So unless this man knows these people personally, he doesn't know how to set that mic for all these different people. That's the difference between sound system back in the day, whereas you had a softer frequency and these people knew who they were working with, and the music was mixed differently because it was all being created at a different frequency to the music that's being created nowadays, especially in jungle and drum and bass. If you listen to jungle music, it's got more of a deeper bass line than drum and bass has, or as jump hop has.
Well, you know what? Hold on, Navi. Let me ask you about that, because I was just talking to someone else about this, and when I started this podcast, the reason was I wanted to find out what the difference between jungle and drum and bass was. And by episode 7, I thought I had it figured out. And the answer was jungle is what the music was called until it got too rough, and then they started calling it drum and bass just to try and make it seem like they were throwing a different party that didn't have all the ruffian aspects, if you will, the MCs, and it wasn't that they were producing a new sound, it was just calling the party something different. But from what you and this other person are describing, there is a different sound. Like, to you, what is the difference between jungle and drum and bass?
Okay, so jungle, back in the day, most of the breaks were the amen breaks, reggae kind of bass lines, and a lot of ragga vocals, R&B, rare groove, hip hop, right?
Okay.
When drum and bass came in, he started creeping in around, for me, 95. I know people would dispute that, but, you know, I watched this thing, man. I was there from 1990 in those parties, so, you know, this is my opinion, okay? The difference between drum and bass, when drum and bass came in, it was that kick snare drum pattern that came in. You know, that Alex Reese thing, that doom-ka, 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 doom-ka. That, for me, denoted the start of drum and bass, because before that, there wasn't many tunes that were even anywhere near sounding like that type of beat. You understand? The drums that were backing it, the kick and the snare that was backing it. And then the bass line started changing to this kind of twangy, it was more twangy, it was a lot of off-key bass lines. For me, it didn't really make sense because I'm used to rhythmic stuff. And as it went along, it started getting very dark. It started getting on this Formula One, this kind of thing. And by the time it got to 2000, 2001, 2002, there was hardly any vocals. You know, the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was hardly any vocals in the music. Nobody was playing jungle in the mainstream parties. It was all drum and bass. It was all drum and bass. And jump hop started kicking in around 2004, 2003, 2004. It started to get strong. You know, Logan D pretty much championed it, man. He was the first man that I saw really serious about it and started his label, and he started going in hard. And it was just about pushing that sound. Same thing like how X-Man is just about pushing, you know, the next generation of MCs. So for me, the difference between jungle and drum and bass is actually the difference between amens. But then if you listen to Serum makes that kick snare stuff, but the way he does his hi-hats, it almost sounds like a break, but it's not a break, you know? So he makes jungle music, but it's not jungle as it was back in the day. It's more this rollers kind of thing. So now we've got so many different splinters within that one umbrella of jungle music. Because a lot of people don't even know what jungle is. They say drum and bass, not knowing that drum and bass is the child of jungle.
It's an interesting answer. I like it. I like it a lot. I like the splintering because it's like we got subgenres within subgenres now. When you're describing
Mad.
sorry, but when you were describing that first drum and bass to me, it almost sounds like two step. Would you agree that that's what we're talking about at that point? That two step.
Kind of. It was that kind of a vibe. I'm just saying that yes, you are right. There was a lot of bad stigma around jungle. Yes, there was a lot of madness going on in the dances. But to tell you the truth, that was going on a long time. It's just that I feel, if I'm honest with you, it was definitely there was a racial divide, and that racial divide caused the birth of drum and bass. And when you've got a certain database, and you can reach out to whatever, you've got a student database, and you can say, okay, we're putting on a freshers party. We're going to book these people. Those kids coming out of that school don't really know what the hell is going on. You're putting on a party. Whatever you put in that party, that's going to be their first experience of going to a party. They're already converted to what you want them to do. So you can do anything you want because you have the power of that database. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's how people turned the tables, because they had that. Obviously, the rave scene itself is independent of that, but it was built from the rave scene, getting these databases.
Yeah, no, I profoundly understand what you're saying. We were talking.
Right. So one sec before we go further. So because of that now, the elders are going in the parties and hearing all this new music and not really resonating with it because it doesn't sound like what they got into the music for, which was, for instance, for myself, I'm hearing all this old school reggae samples and stuff. It just reminds me of my youth. It's taking me back to my youth and making me feel like I'm 17 when I was 30 years of age. That's why I fell in love with jungle. But when you start going into the dances, you start hearing all this like, to me, which was like, it wasn't really sounding melodic like how I grew up in the music industry. So therefore, all those people that used to was going to those jungle raves, they actually broke away. A lot of them went to the garage, some of them went back to house, and the others just stopped going. And then just a very minute fraction of the people that used to go to them parties back in the day are still there, because there was always somebody putting on a little small jungle thing that was intimate, and they were playing real jungle music. And you had the new school junglists, them still making music. The Americans, the Canadians, there's UK guys here that are boss now, they're huge in jungle because they kept on going when everybody gave up. A lot of the big men, them, they were like, nah, I need to eat food, so I'm switching to drum and bass, and they wouldn't play the reggae, the ragga jungle no more. I went to enough of my big man bridging them, and they'll play my tune, More Fire. When More Fire came out, and that was a drum and bass tune, but it just had a ragga vocal in it. But at that time in 2003, there was hardly any vocal tunes. I think it was Shake Your Body, Shy FX, and More Fire. They were the only two big vocal tunes out there at that time. But nobody weren't playing it. It was Andy C that bossed More Fire. It's the reason why I rate Andy as well, because he was the only one that played it. And some of my man, who I know from back in sound system days, wouldn't play it, because at that time, nobody was playing ragga jungle vocals. No, that's not what we're doing right now. We're staying clear of that. Bam, all of a sudden, More Fire boss. All of a sudden, everybody's playing my tune. And that shows you the power of one DJ. That shows you the power of one DJ.
Mm-hmm.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yep. Andy can do that.
But there was, even when the divide came, certain man that was back in the ragga jungle team because they wanted to eat food, and I'm not blaming them. I have to give them their respect due, because at the end of the day, you're feeding your families, you build your name up to a certain standard, and now all of a sudden, promoters coming to you and saying to you, yo, if you're going to play that Jungle Bunny music, bro, I'm not booking you no more.
Let me ask you this,
you understand?
Okay? Yeah, no, I do. And there's as you're telling me this story, it makes me think of a very controversial issue that happened back in around the mid '90s with General Levi, and there was the rumor that he was blacklisted for talking smack or claiming that he invented jungle. Do you know this story that I'm talking about?
I know it very well.
Can
And
you?
if I'm honest with you, General Levy never said that he invented jungle or that he was the king of jungle or not. He was repping jungle just like everybody else, right?
Right.
General Levy is somebody that I know for a very long time. General Levy used to come to dance and listen me and D-Man and Flint to DJ on microphone or Unity back in the day in the 80s. Because General was a bit younger than us, right? And General is a very good vocalist and he's got a unique style. And he happened to make a track called Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew up. And everybody got the arsehole because General Levy bossed before and went on top of the pops and had the big tune before one of the man them that really originated in the jungle thing and grew with the jungle thing. But you can't blame him for that. What, just because he made a big tune now, you're going to vex and he's claiming this. I know about the incident because there was a launch concert kind of thing. And General Levy was up there and he was up there talking. But he wasn't talking like he runs jungle. He was just like, yeah, man, you know, I rep the thing.
Well, it's
The
almost what
original
MCs
junglist.
do. We talk about, like, any MC, they say they're the greatest thing on life. It's just part of an image. It's what the MC does. And to hold him accountable, like, as if he spoke too grandiose of himself, I think is unreasonable. I haven't heard this speech, but I would think where he might have said some stuff like, yeah, mans, I run the jungle, where it's really, that's just him playing a character, and you're holding him as an individual accountable for that image. Do you get where I'm...
Well, that's your opinion and you're entitled to that. But regardless of anything, right? I think it's very unfair what they did to him. And I'm very glad for him that things are going very well for him right now. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. You know, I mean, General Levy is somebody that I've got a lot of respect for. And he's definitely somebody that has done more for jungle than a lot of them who are complaining back in the day, because a lot of them guys that was complaining back in the day about him, they have not put the work in. They never boss as an artist or a DJ or an MC or a producer. They have not done anything to bring themselves up to the standard or try to elevate themselves in the business. And General Levy has been an ambassador for this music for a long time. And that track, Incredible, has opened a lot of people's eyes to this music. Mm-hmm. Yeah? And for that, you have to give him his respect. He was the first man to go on top of the pops, man, with a big jungle tune, man, and clap it up. And then after that, or maybe even before that, was Original Now with you know, with UK Apache, you know, Shy FX and UK Apache. Yeah. You know? So
the only other one I can think of is Aphrodite.
UK Apache, why they ain't cussing UK Apache, but they cussing General Levy.
I don't
Apache
understand
never
that.
come up on the jungle team. He never come up like cussing the jungle team. You know what I mean? He just made a big tune with Shy, and the next thing you know, he's all over the world touring. And people want to carry feelings because of that, because they're jealous. That's all it is. It's jealousy. It was the same thing when I bust with freestylers, man. You know, when man thought you were dead and buried, and then you come with some next thing, and you're up there again, and then they're like, "Oh, he diss jungle. He's gone to a different genre." Bro.
Oh, with Warning, with that was like a rock song kind of mix, right? You guys were a band slash.
Well, we were a band, and I wasn't even doing no jungle stuff. I'm a jungle MC, so when we were making that first album, we rock hard.
Yeah.
And I did Roughneck. After I did Roughneck and they signed it as a single, I said, I want to do a drum and bass tune, a jungle tune. I said, I want to do a jungle drum and bass tune. But because we have got the live band there, I want to get a rock riff over it. There was a tune at that time out by Apollo 440. I can't remember what it was called. But it just, that was the vibe. I played them that tune and they just came up with this thing, and then that, and I was like, what? I'm like, one in, this one is, and I was like, yeah, that, bam, voice it done. You know, the tune was made in about 2 hours. It was just some vibes. And it turned out awesome. But that's what I'm trying to show you. Everybody then turned around and said, I diss jungle and you jump ship and all of this. Bruv, you know, if you sit down waiting, you know, you're in a scene where there's racial discrimination. You're not getting no bookings because you're a ragga MC. So the style, you know, and then all the other guys that are doing the fast style, they're getting bookings like crazy. The music's changed. It's this monotone style of MCing, which I'm not knocking. I'm just saying it's a monotone. It wasn't melodic like how I MC. I like to do singy stuff and chat monotone a bit and then do some up and down thing. And you know what I mean? That's how me and D-Man and Flinty came up on sound system. That's just how I do my thing. But you know, because we were so ragga, We got X'd out, man. We got X'd out. So what am I going to do now? Sit down here waiting for a booking that's never going to come? I had to go and open up a new avenue for myself. That's the difference between me. That's the difference between me and a lot of those guys out there. I didn't sit down moaning and complaining and saying, oh, General Levy got the big hit, and then when they're gone and I make the whole of the money. Like, not for the DJ them. Right, not for the DJ. Oh, Andy see this, Andy see that. Andy see this, man, don't make me have a cost, not bad one. Right? Because at the end of the day, Andy put the work in and put himself in that position. I don't care. It's just how the thing's set up. Give him his respect due for the work that he put in. He elevated himself to that level. I don't care what anybody's got to say. He wasn't born Andy C, the world-renowned drum and bass DJ. He had to work for that. So go and do your work. And when the thing flop, don't cry. When the next guy gets ahead of you, don't hate. Go and apply yourself. Or go and open up an avenue for yourself like they did. Because if they did it, you can do it too. And that's my whole talk. So allow General Levy, blood. Allow Andy C. Let them man there do what they're doing. They created their own reality through their own talent. So if you're not that talented, go and sit down. or go and practice your thing daily until your levels go up, and then go out there and go and make something happen for yourself. That's how this thing goes. Because nobody ain't gonna give you nothing. My dad used to say to me, there ain't nothing gonna land in your hand. That's not how this life goes. And music business is one of them things. It's not, come on, man. Back in the day, we never had no internet. That sound system day things, we never had no internet, man. We had to go out there and go and make it happen. We had to go and find money, build sound system, go and get the equipment. We never had no dough. Come on, man. We was out here on road hustling just like all this thing was going on now. It's the same thing back in the day. It's just that it was different then. We never had smartphones. We never had a ready-made audience on the internet to go out there and promote ourselves to. We had to do hard groundwork. We had to do hard groundwork. Even these man them that come up from the pirate days, you still had an audience on the pirate stations. What are you doing? You had your audience, man. Go work and go and build up your thing and go and take your thing. It's hating thing, man. They hate on General Levy for no reason.
Well, the thing that interests
you're just good, innit?
Well, here's the thing that interests me the most when I heard the story was that it was as if a group of people had come together and said, we aren't going to work with him or we're going to blacklist him. And I'm like, how could a group of people come together with that consensus without one of them realizing what douchebags they sound like? Like, unless the person did something actually to harm somebody, I don't understand how a group of people could do that.
Okay, so listen, let's just break it down, right, to the bottom rung of the ladder. This is about dough. It's the same reason why a lot of the DJs didn't really want the MCs on the jungle, and then they went into the garage thing. Same thing with the garage thing. They didn't want the MCs on the garage. That's what created grime. All of them man, they from back in the day wanted to be jungle MCs. The Wileys, the D-Doubles, the Rico Dance, Bushkin. All of them man, they wanted to be jungle MCs, but the thing was so tight, and we had it locked so tight, they couldn't get in. So they went to garage. When they were in the garage now, their things start popping off, but the DJs think, oh, the MCs are taking the shine. It's too loud. It's not what we're doing, because garage music didn't come from that MCing thing. It came from, you go out, you're putting your pretty clothes and you jig up in a dance. It's a housey thing, isn't it? Sure. It's not about MCs. But this is London, fam. And you got some hungry people out here with a whole heap of energy, and they want to talk to some things through that microphone, because they know that most of the people in that dance are going to relate. But they're talking about what they're living. And that led to grime being invented. Because they couldn't get in. So they had to go and create their own lane. It was the same thing with jungle. I couldn't get in on them hardcore dances and them acid house dances. I couldn't get in. I had to go back. Jungle started to grow. It became a thing. There was just a couple of tunes at first. That was the sound. Boom. Flinty from Ragga Twins took me down to Cool FM, and that's where I met Swift. And then we started working together. And then I built my name as Navigator on Cool FM. And then after that, I kept going until I got into the raves and started getting the bookings. And then I started putting music out and became Artist Navigator. And then when I got X'd out from the jungle scene and wasn't getting much more bookings, then all of a sudden, bam, the Radio 1 thing came in. And I jumped to it. You understand?
Totally, man. And I love it. I love it. But hey, you know what? I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'm going to sign off to the listeners. But hey, stay on the phone because I do want to talk to you a little bit more, okay?
Yeah, man, you can talk to me, man. No problem, man. I just want to say to the listeners after what you know, to add to what I was saying there.
Sure.
It's like, life is phases, okay? Music is the same thing. It's phases. And these phases are like circles, and they keep coming back around. They keep coming back around. So when you make up your mind to do something, and it peaks, that doesn't mean it's the end. You just keep on going, because it's gonna come back round again. It's like a roundabout. It's gonna come back round again. So you just keep on grafting. I'm not saying don't do other things, but don't give up hope on something that you've invested a lot of time and energy in, that's peaked, and then because now it's gone down a little bit, you just abandon ship. That's not how it goes, man. You have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay true to your art, your skill. Don't watch the other man. It's not about what another man's doing. It's about what you're doing. While you're watching the other man, he's still out there tearing down the place. Most of the people that I watch, they were just moving by themselves, doing their thing, and their thing was killing it, because they never had a bag of man around them, and they weren't watching another man. They was focused on their thing. So focus on your thing. Stay true to it. Stay consistent, and never lose faith in what you're doing. And I'm telling you, man, it's gonna work out in the end. You got to really apply yourself to it and trust the process that you're gonna go through. And yes, there is gonna be a time when you think, what the hell am I doing? Yeah, but it's telling you now that it's a different approach now. That what you was doing before has served its purpose. It's the same thing that you're doing, you know, you just have to apply yourself differently.
There you go. Gospel.
That's my advice. That's my advice to anybody coming into this thing, and anybody that's in there that hasn't achieved what they wanted to achieve so far. You need to change your attitude to what you're doing, and you will get there in the end. But if you don't change your attitude, it's not going to change, because it doesn't matter what you went through. What you went through was the past. This is here and now, and what you do in the here and now is going to shape the future.
Truth. Words of wisdom. Thank you, Mr. Navi. Here, like I say, stay on the phone with me here. I'm just gonna sign off to the listeners, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Guys, as always, I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy chatting. Until next time, peace out.